everyone. My name is Molly. I'm Mrs. Davis's daughter, and I'm currently a sophomore at Ohio University. I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about the United Nations today, but you may be thinking, what does a sophomore in college know about the United Nations that Mrs. Davis doesn't know? I'm currently the president of a nonprofit of a local chapter on campus called ISEC. It is a youth-run nonprofit that is partnered with the United Nations. And basically what I wanted to talk to you guys about, besides plug my organization, is, the opportunities that you get when you come to college. As some of you may know, I was a part of Teen Leadership Corps, which is a program you can take your junior and senior year at Edison. I also push that heavily, but it really helps you on a community level, and it teaches you to grow outside of your comfort zones. But when I came to college, I was looking for something like that. So I ended up falling into this organization called ISEC, and I ended up learning that I love culture and I love to learn new things. And it took my community perspective and took it to an international level. So basically what I'm saying out of that is I want you guys to keep a very open mind. I know most of you guys are freshmen, and you're just starting your journey into high school. But there's so much that you guys can learn over these next few years and take into your college years, if that's the path that you so choose to take. But there's just a lot of things that I took from high school to college that I want you guys to take into consideration of always keeping an open mind, because I think that's something that we fail to do a lot. Something we don't think about is how we have this closed-mindedness of people that are, different than what we think of a typical or normal person of our ideal mindset. That could be different than my ideal mindset. So we're all looking for particular things, and it's all about stigmas and barriers that the United Nations is trying to break. So the United Nations created this thing called 17 Sustainable Development Goals. They're also referred to as the SDGs. So there's 17 of them, and I can have Mrs. Davis send you guys a picture of them. But basically, each one of them is a goal that they want to see accomplished by 2030. And this past summer, there was a conference that, ISECers went to, so people from my organization, to help create the vision for 2050. Obviously, our goal of 2030 was a little interrupted by this COVID pandemic, but there was a lot of things that we saw changing just from 10 years, because the goal was created in 2010. No, 2020. Now I'm messing it up. I'm sorry. So every 15 years they brainstorm for the next time. And sometimes that time frame shifts, but basically the ultimate goal is to figure out what they want to see changed in the world. So the 17 goals, there's one of them is quality education, good health and well-being, life underwater. And then if you were to click on that, there'd be 5 or 6 bullet points of what they want to see change. So maybe for good health and well-being, they want to see the rate of AIDS decrease from whatever to this number. And that's basically part of the United Nations that I work with. Something else that I'm not sure you guys know about is the United Nations has a headquarters in New York. That's their main headquarters. I actually was able to visit it this past summer. It's really cool to have a big flagpole with their flag hanging outside of it, and they represent the flags of all the countries represented, and it's just a really cool thing to see. So if you're ever in New York, of course try to see it. You can't really get in, but unless you have some special access and everything. But yeah. A few more fun facts that I had for you guys that you might know already is that in 1945, that's when the United Nations was formed. Basically, after World War II, they decided that the world needed peace, that there was things that we could do and that we could handle and that we could take on ourselves and put into our own hands, and that's some of the things I want to talk to you guys about today. There's a lot of things you guys can do to be sustainable, and you can help better the world. And it may sound silly that the tiny little things can actually make a difference, but you not using plastic, you reusing a reusable water bottle instead of a plastic, it really does make a difference. And I know that it's can be a hard adjustment, and it was not something I was aware of until I really hit college. Because the college I go to, Ohio University, is very about going green and being sustainable, but with ISEC, I've been able to take it to a whole another level because we do get that information from the United Nations. So, as you guys probably heard through the lectures, there's 193 member states of the United Nations, and basically that means that in the General Assembly that everyone has like a chair. Isaac also is one of those that has a chair, and they attend the main organs of the United Nations when they have like councils and stuff. But this was established in 1945 when it was actually, when the UN was founded, and this was something that was like from the beginning, was something that they found very valuable because everyone needs to have a voice. So there are two main bodies of the United Nations. It's the General Assembly and the Security Council, but then there's 6 major branches of the United Nations. There's General Assembly, the Security Council, Economic and Social Council, the Trusteeship Council, the International Court of Justice, and the Secretariat. And those are all things that are like a huge part of like how the United Nations like functions on a day-to-day basis. So there are different locations of where the United Nations headquarters is, and as I said, the one in the U.S. is in New York. There's one in Geneva, Nairobi, Vienna, and there's a few others, but those are like the main headquarters. But the global leadership that comes with that is some of the things that the United Nations does a lot, and that's the hardest thing about me giving you guys a quick, like, 5-10 minute video, is there's so much I'd love to talk about, and if you are really interested in the United Nations, I'm going to give out my information so you guys can send me questions, or we can just chat, because I'm very passionate about the United Nations and what they do, and the organizations that they support. But the biggest thing is the issues and the campaigns that they support, because they have a large voice, and people, with power, hold positions within the United Nations so they can help. So some of the issues, I'm going to list the Globals and Issues campaigns that, like, as of 2020 are very, very important to them. So global issues, observances. This year was the 75th anniversary of the United Nations. As I talked about the Sustainable Development Goals, so the SDGs, climate change, that's a really big one, which is also Sustainable Development Goal number 13. Women Rights for All, UN and Sustainability, Action for Peacekeeping, Democracy, Rule of Law, Refugees and Migrants, Action for Counterterrorism, Victims of Terrorism, Children in Armed Conflict, Violence Against Children, Sexual Violence and Conflict, Violence Against Women and Girls, Preventing Sexual Exploitation and Abuse, Prevention of Genocide and Responsibilities to Protect, the Rwanda Genocide, the Holocaust, the Question of Palestine, Decolonization, Messenger of Peace, and the Secretary General's high-level panel on digital cooperation. And, those might sound like, oh, you're just listing things that, we know are an issue in the U.S. These aren't just issues that are within the U.S. These are issues that are worldwide. And yes, we have issues in the U.S. That is very clear. But that is something that you guys can take into your own hands in terms of, following the news, knowing what is going on, being an active voice, because no matter what age you are, you have a voice and you are very important. I just wanted to leave you guys with one last thing. On the 13th of May, so this Wednesday, there is a Global Youth Town Hall that's going to be hosted by the United Nations that will gather insights from young people of the General Assembly Declaration of the United Nations 75th anniversary. So basically, there's this big survey that is sent out every year. It's called the Youth Speaks Survey, and they just want to hear the youth and what they have to say on the biggest issues. I'm going to have Mrs. Davis send this link to you guys because it is perfect for your guys' age range, because we want to know what you guys are most concerned about. I'm going to see if I can get her to give you guys extra credit for taking it, because it's very, very important. But I'll try and I'll let you know. But it's Wednesday at 9 a.m. EDT time. And I'll have her send the link to that. But if you guys are interested at all in the United Nations, I highly recommend going to that call. It's open to everyone. There'll be so many people you won't have to speak, so don't think of like you have to get all dressed up and everything. It's nothing like that. But basically, I'm gonna send you guys my information. If you have any interest in the United Nations or you just want to chat, I would love to hear from you guys. I'll send you guys my email. And yeah, thank you guys for letting me talk to you. And yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. Thanks.